Hey everyone, thanks for joining me here. It's Brian from Predator Solutions in Michigan. Today we're going to talk about my journey with air guns and what I started with, and in the end of this would probably be maybe 2 videos, 3 videos. In the end we're going to get to what I have now in the PCP airgun world. But today we're going to start with where I started, which I'm sure a lot of you, besides BB guns, probably your next step was a 10 pump. It might have been a Crossman or a Daisy, maybe a Benjamin. There's other brands. This is the Daisy 901. It's a 10 pump. It came with this scope on it. I never even tried this scope. Junk. This ain't a whole lot better, but this is about a, I don't know, $80 scope. Actually, it is a lot better. Shoots very well on this gun. I wouldn't put this on a break barrel gun, for example. Probably be all right on a PCP, really. But as far as the gun goes, this is a BB or a pellet gun. Now, if you're going to shoot pellets and you want to shoot accurately, you do not want to use BBs in this gun. The BBs will ding up your rifling and your gun will become less and less accurate. Now this gun, I shoot, even though it's a 10 pump, I shoot at 11. I pump it up 11 times. Probably not what the manufacturer wants, but I used a chronograph like this one here to figure out what was the most power I could get out of this gun. The reason I wanted it and why I wanted more power is because I had a raccoon problem and I was trying to take care of them. Now this gun is unsafe. It's not loaded. There's no issues with that. But back to the power, it wasn't doing what I wanted. I was killing some raccoons with it, but I was not killing a lot of raccoons with it. So I wanted to upgrade. Now I did. Before I upgraded, I totally dismantled the gun. I improved the flow through the flow port. I increased the plenum size, and I went from about, I think I was at shooting it stock, it was at like 620 feet per second with a 7.9 grain pellet, I believe it was. And I got that up to about 740 feet per second. But this gun actually shoots really best at 11 pumps. That's why I pump it 11 times. I shoot through the chronograph. Any more than that, it actually will lose a little bit of pressure and shoot slower. But at 11 pumps, I get a little bit more speed that the pellets like. I've tried numerous pellets out of this gun. Just happens to like a Crossman 7.9 grain hollow point. I believe it, yeah. I have a couple of these guns. One of them likes the H&N Extreme Barracudas, which is a 9.57 grain pellet. Shoots lights out. Very accurate to about 20 yards, 25 yards. Beyond that, the wind starts playing with it, you know, your drop. And it's just not very accurate beyond that, but pretty accurate, 20-25 yards. So after, you know, I used this gun for a year or two and wasn't happy with the performance, I upgraded to a break barrel, which is this one right here. Now you'll see I don't have a scope on that gun because this is a Benjamin nitro piston. It's a Benjamin Trail, and this has pretty good recoil, and that's why the scope's not here, because it ate the scope. It has such a bad recoil, and the recoil is not back like a normal gun. The recoil is forward, from the piston traveling forward, and it has like quite a bit of recoil, really, way more than a 22 long rifle. I would compare it to maybe a 410 or 20 gauge perhaps, but it's pretty good recoil for this is a 177 for a 177 pellet gun. Now this gun claims to shoot 1,400 feet per second, right here on the box, which is a gimmick. They don't tell you that that's with a non-lead pellet. And then also, when you get to that supersonic, when you start breaking the speed of sound, there's turbulence before you break the speed of sound and after you break the speed of sound. So your pellet, if you're traveling faster than 1,100 feet per second, remember this says 14, it has to go through that turbulence before it gets subsonic, or while it's subsonic, before it goes supersonic, and then even after. And then as the pellet slows down, it goes through that turbulence again. So these guns are not super accurate. Also, when you use this gun, if you put a heavier pellet in it to slow it down, now the recoil starts affecting the pellet coming out of the end of the barrel, because that pellet is still traveling the barrel when the gun is recoiling. It's really weird with this gun. I shoot like two different groups. I can sit down, the same pellet, same distance, and shoot a target, and I'll have a group down here and a group up here. And it depends how you hold the gun. You hold it lightly, it shoots one way. You hold it tighter, it shoots another way. And it's really finicky. Now I've shot other break barrel guns that aren't as bad as this. In fact, I just fixed one for a friend of mine. And I shot it, and I was pretty impressed with it. It did all right. It had about 25 yards, where my friend wanted it sighted in for. And I was pretty happy. This gun, it won't do it. In fact, I won't even use this gun. I mean, if somebody wanted it, I would sell it to them, but I would warn them first that it's not going to be very accurate. So that was my initial venture into the air guns. And really, when I wanted the power, is I had a raccoon problem. The raccoons would get up on my deck and get my barbecue, and little greasy footprints all over the place. I cleaned it off. The next night it was the same thing. They tear down my bird feeders, getting into my duck coop, eating all the duck food, knocking it over. So I had to do something about it. So I used this for a little while. I used the 10 pump for a little while. And then I've never even heard of PCP, when I was at that point. And I was looking for something more powerful. I live in a neighborhood. I have houses behind me this way and next door this way. All out this way is the big woods. So that's where all these critters are coming from. And I can't shoot, a 22, off my deck or around the house. So I wanted air gun. I wanted something quiet. I wanted something powerful. And I wanted something that would kill these raccoons or other critters that were getting into my stuff without wounding them and having to go look for them and having them suffer. I wanted to be able to get the job done quickly. So I started researching, and then I heard about these PCP air guns. And I looked into that, and I found out you had to have a compressor. Compressors are expensive. So like, not only were the guns expensive, but then I had to buy a compressor. So I really didn't want to do that, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And then COVID hit, and I was home a lot by myself, and I started researching. And then I was also bored, so I needed something to do. So I got on Amazon and started looking and started researching the guns that I could afford. And there was one gun in particular that kept standing out. And there was a guy who made a bunch of videos on them, and he was shooting slugs. And I never even heard of shooting slugs out of a gun, but that piqued my interest even more because you could shoot a heavier projectile, further distance, and that really got me thinking about buying a PCP air gun even more. So I did my research, and this guy was who had the gun I ended up getting that was making these videos was Air Velocity Sports, and he modified the gun. He did all kinds of things in the end, but when I bought mine, he was just testing slugs. He ended up even making his own wood stocks that are beautiful. And I think he might even sell them now, but I know he makes his own slugs now and sells his own slugs, and they shoot pretty good. So I ended up ordering a PCP air gun, and then, well, you got to have a pump. So I started thinking about pumps, what I was going to use, and for $40 you could get a hand pump. So I ended up I ordered a hand pump, and I'm going to put these guns away. I'll be right back, and I'm going to come back with the first PCP air gun I bought and the hand pump, and then we'll continue this. Okay, I'm back. So this was the first pump I bought. It's a hand pump. It was $40 on Amazon, and I pumped up my gun one time to about 3,000 PSI. It pumps up to 4,350 PSI. But to get that to 3,000 was a workout. The second time I put air in the gun, I wanted to pump it up to the 4,325 that was the max fill pressure. So I pumped and pumped and pumped until it got so hard that I was literally jumping up and down, like pushing down the handle. You probably can't see it, but I blew a hole in the hose. So now I have a new air gun, and I can't shoot it other than a couple more times because I had a little bit of air in it until I got another pump. So I ended up buying a compressor, and I figured if I spent the money on another hand pump for $40, it wasn't going to last. A new compressor, well, the one I bought was $300, and I'm still using it today, like, I don't know, what is it, 3 years later, and I use it a lot. I have 5 or 6 air guns, and I pump them up all the time. I shoot almost every single day. I shoot a lot. So this is the first air gun I bought, and this is gonna be a long story about this one. It didn't look like this when I bought it, but this I used for pest control. So it can. This is an IR light, and this is a night vision scope. It didn't have the suppressor on the end of it. So let me just tell you a little bit about PCP air gun. Now, it has an magazine in it just because I wanted to show you but it's unsafe. The magazine's empty. So right up here, you turn this, and there's a fill port right here, There's a little probe that goes in there, and then that goes into the compressor or your hand pump, and you fill it up there. There's a gauge right here that you can read how much air is in the tank or the cylinder, which is this right here. It comes all the way back to here. Now this gun I bought in 177 caliber, and it shot really good with pellets. But once again, Brian needed more power, so he wanted to start shooting slugs. So I started shooting 177 slugs, and I started buying more and more slugs, trying all kinds of different things. Griffin airgun ammo, great guy, great ammo. I used a lot of his ammo at first with 22 or on the 177, and I got some ammo to shoot good. I got a 14 grain slug to shoot pretty dang good out of it. Janelle and I went to a farmer who was having some raccoon issues. Like literally said when he would pull up to get silage to feed the cows, that he would have to chase the raccoons out of it. So Janelle and I went over there, and we sat, and it wasn't 5 minutes, and so this silage, it had these big cement barriers all the way around it to hold the silage in, and the raccoons just started popping up on the top, and I don't remember how many we got, but we got quite a few in like a short time. Let's say 13, I think. We might have made a video about that, probably before I had the YouTube channel though. So, so anyway, that did pretty good, but I still found that I wasn't dropping the raccoons every time right there the way I wanted them to fall. So I ended up changing the gun to a 22 caliber. I bought a Lothar Walther barrel, put it in here. This here's the plenum, which I'll tell you what that is in a minute. So I put a larger plenum in it, then I changed the valve, changed the transfer port from the plenum to the barrel, a larger size. I did a lot of work on the gun, and it made it 22 caliber. And now it shoots amazing. It's very powerful. I'm back to shooting pellets out of it because I have a higher powered gun back there that I use for bigger animals, and that works great. And we'll get to that gun probably in the next video. But this one I want to tell you about the PCP airgun a little bit. So the way they work is you have your fill pressure in this tube right here. Remember, it's 4,350 psi max. And then you have a plenum. There's a regulator between the fill pressure and the plenum. Now all PCPs don't have a regulator, some do not. If you do not have a regulator, your shot string it's not even. It's not horrible, but it's not even. Let's just say that you're targeting 900 feet per second. We're just going to use 900. Well, when you have a lot of pressure against the valve, when you're fully charged with your fill tube, you have a lot of pressure against the valve. And as the hammer, there's a weight in here, and we'll call it a hammer, it hits the valve and opens the valve for a split second, which allows the pressure from the fill tube to come into the barrel and push the projectile out the barrel. Now, when you don't have a regulated gun, say you're targeting 900 feet per second, your first 10 shots are going to be less than that because you have more pressure pushing on the valve. But after that comes down a little bit, the gun will find a happy spot, and maybe you're at maybe 860 for your first shot, and then slowly it'll come up to 900, it'll stay 900 for maybe 10, 20 shots, and then it'll start going down again. So you only have like a real even, maybe 10 or 20 shots. It all depends how big your fill tube is. Well, with a regulated gun, you have this plenum, and the pressure in the plenum remains the same. So as long as your pressure in the fill tube is higher than the regulator is set, or higher than the pressure in the plenum, your first shot will be 900 all the way until you get to where the pressure drops off the regulator and gets below what you have it set at, or what is in the plenum. So on this gun, it has a regulator. It had a regulator right from the get-go. I just added a bigger plenum. So now you heard me mention a hammer hitting a valve. Well, there's a spring that throws that hammer forward to push on that valve. This gun did not come with an adjustable hammer spring, but right here I added one. What that allows me to do is I'm not just reliant on this pressure to adjust my velocity. I can adjust the hammer spring, how hard this hammer slides forward to open the valve. The harder it hits the valve, the more it opens, the faster that projectile is going to come out of the barrel. So on this gun, I have this gun tuned to shoot. I'm shooting JSB 18 grain pellets, 18.13 grain pellets at about 920 feet per second. And this gun will shoot about, I don't know, 80 shots. This is a 300cc tube here. I can't remember how big the plenum is. 24 cc's if I remember right. But I'll shoot about 80 shots at 920 feet per second, from the first shot to the last shot. And then I'm getting close to my regulated pressure and I want to fill the gun again. So this hammer spring, all it is a screw that I screw in or screw out to put more or less pressure on the spring that's going to move that hammer. This gun had an adjustment on the side for high and low pressure. All that did was cut off a little bit of the air going from the plenum to the barrel. So basically just slowed it down. You still had the same amount of air in a shot. So it really wasn't efficient. So I capped that off and I increased the size of the transfer port that goes from the plenum to the barrel to get that air into the barrel behind that pellet as fast as I could to get me the most power and efficiency. Because you really want to tune these guns to be efficient. This gun is very quiet because it is efficient. If I just cranked in this hammer spring adjuster, this gun would be loud, but it'd also be not as accurate. You want that valve, you want the valve in here closed before that pellet leaves the barrel, so you don't have this big blast of air behind the pellet trying to flip the pellet over as it exits the barrel. So you want to tune the gun for accuracy and efficiency. What else should I tell you about this gun? This is an ATI Nova Liberty. It was probably the first gun in its class to be $300, affordable gun. It came in a synthetic or a wood stock. I had a synthetic stock gun also. Well, when I was shooting slugs out of this gun, I wanted one that would shoot pellets for smaller critters or inside barns, and so I bought a synthetic stock version of this exact same gun. I did the hammer spring adjustment to it, a couple little things to it, and other than that I left it alone. But then I have Janelle, who I hunt with all the time. Me and her would take that gun and go shoot rats and other critters, and we were always using my gun. She used to tease me about it because, well, I kind of am like a little kid with these BB guns, pellet guns, right? I love them. I shoot them all the time. But she used to tease me about it, and then she started shooting it, and she really liked it. And guess what happened to that gun? She bought it from me. And I don't sell guns, but for her, I wanted to do it. I knew it would go to a good place, get a lot of use. Her and her kids shoot it all the time. You've probably seen all the squirrels and all the other things they shoot with it. It looks like a big gun, but it's really not that big. They're not that heavy. This one's a little bit heavier because it's a wood stock. But her gun, I have a different moderator on the end of her gun. I have a hill on her gun. This is an FX on this gun. And her gun is super quiet. Now hers has a 22 caliber. It has the original barrel in it. Yeah, I had that thing shooting really good. That gun had a weird problem though. In the cold temperatures, like it would shoot like great. 30 yards, one hole, size of a pencil eraser, just every shot. Really good accurate gun. You go outside in the wintertime when it's cold, and all of a sudden you're shooting like 1.5 inches low. It had to do with the metals expanding and contracting. So what I ended up doing on her gun is, this is a shroud and a barrel. There's a barrel inside the shroud. I took this barrel band, I don't know if you can see this here. I took this barrel band off the end of her barrel, and I put a carbon fiber tube on the barrel between the barrel and the shroud, and it stiffened the barrel up, so I didn't really need this barrel band on here anymore. And that solved the problem. Now she can take it anywhere. It could be cold out, hot out, it doesn't matter. The point of impact does not change. So I'm glad I was able to figure that out. But it's same gun. I wish they still made these guns. I would buy another one. I did buy the gun that took the place of this gun, which is the Avenger. Janelle's dad actually bought it, and then he didn't, and it's kind of a long gun, right? These guns are long, but when you're shooting out of a tripod, they work great. Well, he didn't really like that. Didn't want to shoot a tripod all the time. He wanted to shoot offhand more, so he wanted to buy something else. So me and the kid I am, I bought his Avenger, and I have that all tuned up and shooting amazing. But that gun came with a hammer spring. Basically, it's the same gun. A lot of the same, it's exact same barrel, exact same shroud. The air tube is different. It has a shorter air tube and then another small air tube under here. So this part of the gun's a little thicker. Same trigger mechanism. That one has a plastic cocking handle where this one's metal. But other than that, they're pretty similar. I guess some of the internals are different. The plenum on that one's a casting. This one's machined out of, looks like billet aluminum blocks that are sealed together with O-rings. But I got the gun. It shoots great. It holds pressure great. I use it every once in a while. It's very light too. You know, for as big as these guns, this gun's heavy because ATN optic on it and a big IR light on it. So that makes it a little bit more heavy, and then I added the plenum and some other things, so made it a little bit heavier, but still not bad. But the Avenger, that's pretty light gun. You can move that around, throw that around pretty good. So that, I would say that got me into air guns pretty deep. You know, if you want to know more about air guns, I could get really deep into it, but that's already been done. There's a guy, Matt Dubber, from Air Arms Hunting USA. He has a video called Airgun Ballistics 101 maybe, or maybe it was just Airgun Ballistics. Well, he explains about the barrel, the harmonics in the barrel, the subsonic, supersonic transition, very deep stuff, very interesting stuff. If you any interested in air guns or even just shooting in general, you would really get a lot out of that video. I don't really think I need to go into it, but I do want to mention it. Air Arms Hunting USA, great video, lots of information. You'd really like it. And he's from South Africa. They I don't know how much you know about air guns or whatnot, but there's a lot of slug manufacturers nowadays. They're making their own slugs called Patriot Javelin slugs. I think they're on their second version now. They have, I think it's a G2. I believe that's what it's called. There's their first, and then they have a second rendition of their slugs. The second one, we'll get into slugs in the next video. There's different shapes and sizes of slugs. We'll get into all that. But Matt Dubber with FX Air Guns, they did a lot of testing to figure out what flies best. And actually the slugs I use, and through all I bought so many different slugs, shapes and sizes, that the back of the slug has a big difference. And I figured out through my testing that the dish back worked best. At some point they were saying that it went by power. Your more powerful air guns, like the flat back, then a cut back, or a dish back, then a cut back, somewhere in there. They're very similar. It just has to do with the shape of the back of the slug. Well, my experience, the dish back always outperformed all the other slugs. And the Patriot Javelin slugs, their new edition, also uses the dish back on the back of their slugs. I use NSA slugs a lot. They seem to be really great. Griffin slugs, he has them in all different shapes and sizes. Great slug too. I'd say it's the Griffin slugs are pretty soft, so you get really good expansion, which we'll get into that another day, probably in the next video. I have a couple air guns that are semi-automatic. They have a different kind of valve. It's called a hammerless valve. I'm not really sure how that works. I've looked at some schematics and watched a video on how they were taken apart. I kind of understand it, but I wouldn't know how to describe it. So, you know, if you're going to buy one of them, you can. There's the Hubit, the LCS SK19, Rattler. I think there's one more new air gun that has that same design of a hammerless valve. So we'll get into that when I show you them. I have an SK9. I have two of them actually, SK19s. Those guns you can shoot in semi-automatic or fully automatic. I don't really use the fully automatic too much. Maybe it's fun for a minute, but It's just as fun shooting semi-automatic. And my neighbors probably don't like a fully automatic. They make a little bit of noise. Probably wonder what's going on when I shoot it that way. And I really don't have a need to shoot it that way, so I don't do that very often. But it is fun once in a while. I think it was most fun when actually, like right now, when the ground's flooded and there's puddles, and when you can see the spray behind your target after you shoot through the target or whatever, and splashing in the water is kind of fun. But typically I would just shoot it in automatic, or these bolt action or side lever, and they're pretty fast too. You can shoot pretty fast with them. If you have to, I don't know if you've seen any of my rat videos or mouse videos, or even maybe in some of the skunks or raccoons, and you'll see I'm able to reload pretty quickly. I've never used the semi-automatic in any of my pest control videos, at least not yet. But mostly those are just for me to shoot for fun, and I keep the pest control videos to the guns I use for pest control, like this one. That the scope takes video on its own, makes it nice and easy. I did add this pick rail here on the front, so I can attach the light, or some people like bipods. I never had a use for bipods. When I shoot, I don't shoot off a bipod. I rarely shoot off a bag. If I do, it's just one bag. I see people using these sleds to shoot all the time. To me, maybe you could use it to sight in your gun and have some confidence that way. But really, if you want to be the most accurate you can be with your gun, is you sight it in the way you're going to shoot it. If you're just shooting at paper and you're just going to be shooting off one of these sleds, then sight it in that way. Go ahead. If you're going to shoot off, just plink, and you're going to shoot off a bag all the time, well, then do that. If you're going to put a tripod on the gun and you're going to use it that way and shoot off the tripod, then sight it in with the tripod. But sight your gun in the way you're going to use it, so you have the best accuracy at the time you need it. Now don't forget, these are my views. Everybody has their own opinion. This is my opinion. You can like it, you can not like it, you can disagree, you can agree. That's fine. We all have our own opinions. You're more entitled to yours. I hope you leave positive comments and don't beat me up for what I'm saying here, but I'm just trying to help you guys out, understand the difference between a pump gun, a brake barrel gun, a PCP air gun, what the parts of a PCP air gun. We'll get into filling the guns. We could even get into regulator pressures. It all depends what you guys want to do with the gun. If you're going to be like me and do pest control, you're probably going to want more than one gun. You're going to want one where you can shoot smaller animals, you can shoot bigger animals. These guns, they make up all the way up to like, I think a 700 caliber or 0.7. Just huge, I mean, the most common guns are, I would say, 177, 22. There's some 20 caliber guns, 25 caliber, 30 caliber, 357. Those are probably your most popular. Most guns are going to be 177, 22, or 25. I don't own any 25 calibers. I'm kind of stubborn. The ballistics of a 22 caliber projectile are a lot better than 25, and I like a flat shooting gun. This gun here, I can shoot from 15 yards to 50 yards and not have to hold over or under. If I'm any closer than that, you know, I'll have to aim a little bit high. You know, if I'm in a barn, sometimes you'll be like, man, why are you shooting at the rat's ear? Well, it's because there's a distance from the center line of the scope to the center line of the barrel. And this gun is sighted in at 17 yards. When I do that, that allows me, well, you have this angle, right? At some point, these are going to meet. You know, so at this gun, it's 17 yards. Well, beyond 17 yards, you know, the scope's looking straight, so the barrel is actually level, but the scope is pointing down a little bit to meet the line of the barrel, right? The center line of the barrel. Well, so at some point beyond 17 yards, the pellet actually raises up. Well, it doesn't raise up, but because this is angled down, it comes above the center line of the scope. And I have this gun to where probably from like, I don't know, maybe like 13 yards to 50 yards, I'm never more than 5/8 of an inch high or low. So I can pretty much aim right on whatever I'm shooting at from 15 to 50 yards. At 10 yards, I have to aim a little bit high. I hope you understand that. Some people have given me crap and say, well, your pellet can't rise. Well, no, it doesn't rise, but the scope and the center line of the barrel have to meet somewhere. So this is on an angle. This is pointing down. It's not on the same plane as the center line of the barrel. So because the barrel is pointing up compared to the scope, the pellet comes above the center line of the scope, or where you have a 0, and then the pellet starts to fall because of gravity, and then it comes back down. So if you look at it on paper, if you were to chart the numbers and you considered the scope a straight line, it would appear that the pellet was going up and coming down. But that's only because of this angle, right? If you made a triangle here, this scope and barrel would meet at 17 yards. That makes sense? I hope that makes sense. So that's just my gun. Some people like to sight them in differently. For me, I don't have a lot of time to think when I'm doing pest control. So there's a website called Shooter's Choice, I think it is, where you can go on there, you put in all your ballistic information, and it will tell you, you know, if you're sighted in it, you can put the number in where you want to sight it in, and it'll tell you the drop of your pellet. You could go at 1 yard increments, 5 yard increments, 10 yard increments. You could go to 50 yards. You could go to 1,000 yards. Whatever information you put in there, it'll tell you. So me, being me, I go in there and I fill it out, and I figure out where can I get the longest shot where I don't have to, you know, shoot high or low. So I figured out for this gun, at what the speed I'm shooting, the grain pellet I'm using, the caliber I'm using, the BC of the pellet I'm using, at 17 yards, well, from basically from about 13 yards to 17 yards, I'm never more than 5/8 of an inch high or 5/8 of an inch low, which isn't bad. We're talking like this, right? 1.25 inches. 5/8 and 5/8 is about 1.25 inches. Or it is 1.25 inches. So that's why I do it. If I'm aiming even a rat, I'm going to hit it. I'm going to kill it. These things are powerful. They put some good holes in the animals you shoot. They're not toys. You don't want to shoot this at somebody. You want to be safe with it. Treat it like a firearm. They're powerful. Even your 10 pump guns. You want to treat them like a gun. they'll hurt you if you don't. So, well, I think I'm done talking for today. Probably bored. Half you guys probably left. If you're still here, I really appreciate it. I'm going to make a couple more videos with some other guns. I'm going to get into the pump that I have, the compressor I have, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. We'll get into the more powerful guns. We'll get into the different pellets and slugs and shapes and sizes and when to use those, and then we'll go from there. Let's see if I can think of anything else to talk about. But for now, I appreciate it for you sticking around and listening to this video. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, put it down in the comments. I'll get to them. I read all the comments. We'll help you out however we can. I mean, and that's why I'm making this video, is I've been getting questions, you know, and I figure if I can just steer somebody to a video instead of trying to explain something over the phone or through a text message, it would be better. So that's why I'm making this video. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.